Hello and welcome to our second episode of Wordy Pants, a series where you can learn words, phrases and expressions to improve your writing skills. If you missed the first episode, you can check that out in our channel or just simply click on that white card that will appear on the video, the top of the video. Okay, enough chitter chatter, let's dig into the writing cues we have for today. The sentences we discussed today are useful when you are writing about the economic status of your country. So last time we did an episode where we talked about the political situation, the words and phrases you can use to describe your political status. So in this time we are going to talk about the phrases and words you can use to describe the economical situation of your country. So if you happen to study economics or any related subject, or simply writing an essay or an article about the economic condition of the country, this will be the perfect cues for you. So without further ado, let's look at the first sentence. The country is shackled by the dead weight of neo-colonialism. The country is shackled by the dead weight of neo-colonialism. This means that a country cannot prosper because it is burdened by the economical and political pressure of powerful countries. Let's say USA for that matter, and China, yes, a little bit. They have an immense political authority, and they kind of pressurize little countries like Sri Lanka economically and politically in order to just realize their own political agendas. So this is an example for that. Now let's take a look at the words in bold. The first word is shackle. Shackle simply means to prevent someone from behaving in a certain manner or restrict somebody, to say the least. This could be a physical restriction or even a psychological or a mental restriction. Let's look at the examples now. The first one, the convicts were shackled and led on to the bus. The convicts were shackled and led on to the bus. This is an example for physical restriction. So shackled basically in this case means that they were chained, they were in chains. The second example, she was no longer shackled by her memories. This is for an example for mental or psychological restriction. This can be used when you feel like, okay, you can't move on, move forward because something from your past is holding you back, for instance. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now let's look at the second phrase, which is dead weight. Dead weight is used when you want to say that a person or a thing makes it difficult for somebody or something to succeed. Okay, that thing, the dead weight, is something that makes it difficult for somebody or something to succeed. In a way, it is similar to the previous word we studied, which is shackle. However, shackle can be used either as a verb or a noun, whereas dead weight can only be used as a noun. Okay, dead weight is mostly associated with describing economic burdens in organizations and countries, but there are cases where it can be used to describe your personal issues. Okay, let's look at the first example. Taxes were a dead weight on small business owners. Taxes were a dead weight on small business owners. This is about the economic status, economic context. Let's look at the second one. He was a dead weight on the family as he did not want to do a job. He was a dead weight on the family as he did not want to do a job. This example is more personal, so you can see that the dead weight can be used either way. In this case, the person doesn't want to do a job, so he is becoming a burden to his family. Okay, the next word we are going to look at is neo-colonialism. If you study English at the university, you will come across a theoretical definition for neo-colonialism. But in this case, the word is used in a broader manner to indicate the economical or political pressure used by powerful countries to control other countries. The previous example I used, countries like USA and China exercising their political authority and power to control other smaller countries. That is a case in point. We have a good example here, and clearly this phrase is used to describe large entities like countries. We normally don't use this to describe personal affairs. So here we go. Developing countries become easy victims of neo-colonialism. Developing countries become easy victims of neo-colonialism. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next sentence. I'm reading it out. Acrimonious partisan politics have taken its toll on national progress. Acrimonious partisan politics have taken its toll on national progress. This simply means that hostile and biased politics have badly affected the national development. Let's look at the first word, which is acrimonious. Acrimonious is used when you are angry and full of strong, bitter feelings and words. It is used when you are angry and full of bitter, strong feelings or words. Okay, I'm reading out the examples now. There was an acrimonious dispute about wages. There was an acrimonious dispute about wages. The second example, their marriage ended 8 years ago in an acrimonious divorce. Their marriage ended 8 years ago in an acrimonious divorce. So this can be used to describe both personal and formal affairs. Moving on to the second word, partisan. Partisan. Partisan is to show too much of support for one person or a group or idea without considering it carefully. So it's like you don't care about what the other person says. You just agree with it because you know the person or you like the guy. Okay, a synonym for partisan is bias. So you get the picture, right? Okay, for example, the audience was very partisan and refused to listen to her speech. The audience was very partisan and refused to listen to her speech. The second example, the country is divided by partisan politics. The country is divided by partisan politics. So let's say, for example, there's a parliamentary debate and a minister is reading out a speech, and others don't like to listen to her simply because she's from another party. That simply means that they are biased or partisan. So if not always, this word is mostly associated with politics. Moving on. When you say that A had a heavy toll on B, that means A had a bad impact on B. I'm talking about the phrase taken a toll on. Take a toll on. This is to suggest that you have a bad effect on somebody or something, not you, maybe something. Or in other words, it is to cause a lot of damage, death, pain, etc. to something. So you can use this word in many circumstances, like you can use this to describe your personal affairs, formal, political, economical, social, and so on and so forth. Let's look at the examples now. The constant stress takes its toll on emergency room workers. The constant stress takes its toll on emergency room workers. This means that stress has affected them very negatively on emergency room workers. So if, for example, hospitals, there's always stress. Okay, patients are brought in, they have to keep themselves busy all the time. So there's a lot of stress. So it takes a heavy toll on them as emergency room workers. The second example, smoking has taken a heavy toll on your health, on his health. Smoking has taken a heavy toll on his health. That means smoking has ruined his health. Okay, now let's look at the sentence as a whole. Acrimonious partisan politics have taken its toll on national progress. This simply means that hostile and biased politics have badly affected the national development. Before we move on, a small note on the word politics. So a lot of the times we get confused with the singular or plural forms of the word politics. Is it singular? Is it plural? What should we do? Okay, this is what I found. Politics can be used with either a singular or a plural verb, depending on your meaning. In general, it is singular. It's plural when it means a particular set of political ideas or beliefs. Okay, I have put the link in the description box to the site from which I extracted this bit of information. So you can visit that site and study more examples on the proper use of the singular or the plural forms of the word politics. We have used the plural form here because we are referring to the impact of not just one but many political ideologies. Okay, with that note, let's look at our last sentence for the day. We are stuck neck deep in debt, the servicing of which takes a sizable chunk of the national income. We are stuck neck deep in debt, the servicing of which takes a sizable chunk of the national income. This means that the country is full of debt and the repaying of this debt takes a large part of our national income. Okay, let's look at the first phrase, neck deep. This is mostly used in journalistic writing, blogging and other casual forms of writing. We don't normally use this in academic writing. So you have to be mindful about this use. Neck deep simply means you are deeply involved in something. Okay, and you can't get away from it. For example, you can say I'm neck deep in work. I'm too busy. So it's like let's say it's a busy day at work. On top of that, your friend calls you and let's say that okay, let's meet up. Unfortunately, you are loaded with work, so you can simply say, I'm very sorry, I'm neck deep in work. Another example, she's neck deep in debt, similar to the original sentence we discussed. She's neck deep in debt. That means she is full of debt. And also note the pronunciation of debt. We don't use debt. We don't say it as debt. We say it as debt. The plural form is debts. Okay. The third example, I'd like to help, but I'm neck deep at the moment. I'd like to help, but I'm neck deep at the moment. This means the same thing. I would like to help you, but I'm too busy at the moment. Okay, with that we'll go to the next one, service. Service is normally used to describe repairing vehicles and machines, as you know, but in this case it is used to describe the act of paying interest on money that was borrowed. So if you took a loan from somebody, let's say a bank, and you have to pay the interest monthly, so the act of paying that interest is called servicing. Okay, for example, the country's debt servicing accounted for 300 million rupees a year. The country's debt servicing accounted for 300 million rupees a year. Notice that we didn't use an year, we used a year. The second example, borrowers were unable to service their debts. Borrowers were unable to service their debts. Okay, here in the first example we used servicing as a noun. In the second example we used service as a verb. So you can see that this word both can be used as a noun or a verb. To make it into a noun, you will have to add ing to its base form most of the times. That is how the verb becomes a noun. Okay, now let's move on to the next one, and this is the grand finale, folks. The last word for the day, sizable. This is an easy one actually. Sizable simply means fairly large. For example, the pandemic has had a sizable impact on the country's economic growth. The pandemic has had a sizable impact on the country's economic growth. In this case, sizable means a huge impact. It had a huge impact on the economic growth. The second example, she owned fairly sizable properties abroad. She owned fairly sizable properties abroad. That means she owned fairly large properties abroad. Third example, a sizable crowd had gathered in front of the temple. A sizable crowd had gathered in front of the temple. That means a big crowd had gathered in front of the temple. So as you can see, this word can be used in many contexts, like in personal affairs, formal affairs, economic, and the list goes on and on. So that's it for today. If you find this video useful, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and it will help us make new content. Okay, with that we come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys.